Alrighty, so here we are back again. Let us continue. We're gonna take a quick
As
nap.
Kaim slips into deep sleep, his dream unfolds. A dream or his past. At this moment, there is no way he could know.
Alright, so these are the dreams, and in the dreams, these are small little short stories that you can read. So this one is Hannah's Departure. The family members have tears in their eyes when they welcome Kaim back to the inn from his long journey. Thank you so much for coming. He understands the situation immediately. The time for departure is drawing near. Too soon. Too soon. But still, he knows this day would have to come sometime, and not in the distant future. I might never see you again, she said to him with a sad smile when he left on this journey, her smiling face almost transparent in its whiteness, so fragile, and therefore indescribably beautiful as she lay in bed. May I see Hannah now? He asked. The innkeeper gives him a tiny nod and says, I don't think she'll know who you are, though. She hasn't opened her eyes since last night, he warns Kaim. You can tell from the slight movement of her chest that she is clinging to a frail thread of life, but it could snap at any moment. It's such a shame. I know you made a special point to come here for her. Another tear glides down the wife's cheek. Never mind, it's fine, Kaim says. He has been present at innumerable deaths, and his experience has taught him much. Death takes away the power of speech, first of all, then the ability to see. What remains alive to the very end, however, is the power to hear. Even though the person has lost consciousness, it is by no means unusual for the voices of the family to bring forth smiles or tears. Kaim puts his arm around the woman's shoulder and says, I have lots of travel stories to tell her. I've been looking forward to this my whole time on the road. Instead of smiling, the woman releases another large tear and nods to Kaim. And Hannah was so looking forward to hearing your stories. Her sobs almost drown out her words. The innkeeper says, I wish I could urge you to rest up from your travels before you see her. But, Kaim interrupts his apology, of course, I'll see her right away. There's very little time left. Hannah, the only daughter of the innkeeper and his wife, will probably breathe her last before the sun comes up. Kaim lowers his pack on the floor and quietly opens the door to Hannah's room. Hannah was frail from birth. Far from enjoying the opportunity to travel, she rarely left the town or even the neighborhood in which she was born and raised. This child would probably not live to adulthood, the doctor told her parents. To this tiny girl with extraordinary, beautiful, doll-like features, the gods had dealt an all too sad destiny. That they had allowed her to be born the only daughter of the innkeepers of a small inn by the highway was perhaps one small act of atonement for such inequality. Hannah was unable to go anywhere, but the guests who stayed at her parents' inn would tell her stories of the countries and towns and landscapes and people that she would never know. Whenever new guests arrived at the inn, Hannah would ask them, Where are you from? Where are you going? Can you tell me a story? She would sit and listen to their stories with sparkling eyes, urging them on to new episodes with, and then? And then? When they left the inn, she would beg them, Please come back and tell me lots and lots of stories about faraway countries. She would stand there, waving until the person disappeared far down the highway, give one lonely sigh, and go back to bed. Hannah is sound asleep. No one else is in the room, perhaps an indication that she has long since passed the stage when the doctors can do anything for her. Kaim sits down in the chair next to the bed and says with a smile, Hello, Hannah. I'm back. She does not respond. Her little chest, still without the swelling of a grown woman, rises and falls, almost imperceptibly. I went far across the ocean this time, he tells her. The ocean on the side where the sun comes up. I took a boat from the harbor, way, way, way far beyond the mountains you can see from this window. And I was on the sea from the time the moon was perfectly round till it got smaller and smaller, and then bigger and bigger until it was full again. There was nothing but ocean as far as the eye could see, just the sea and the sky. Can you imagine it, Hannah? You've never seen the ocean, but I'm sure people have told you about it. It's like a huge, big, endless puddle. Kaim chuckles to himself, and it seems to him that Hannah's pale white cheek moves slightly. She can hear him, even if she cannot speak or see. Her ears are still alive. Believing and hoping this to be true, Kaim continues with the story of his travels. He speaks no words of parting. As always with Hannah, Kaim smiles with a special gentleness he has never shown to anyone else, and he goes on telling his tales with a bright voice, sometimes even accompanying his story with exaggerating gestures. He tells her about the blue ocean. He tells her about the blue sky. He says nothing about the violent sea battle that stained the ocean red. He never tells her about those things. Hannah was still a tiny girl when Kaim first visited the inn. When she asked him, Where are you from? And will you tell me some stories? With her childish pronunciation and innocent smile, Kaim felt a soft glow in his chest. At the time, he was returning from a battle. More precisely, he had ended one battle and was on his way to the next. His life consisted of traveling from one battlefield to another, and nothing about that has changed to this day. He has taken the lives of countless enemy troops and witnessed the deaths of countless comrades on the battlefield. Moreover, the only thing separating enemies from comrades is the slightest stroke of fortune. Had the gears of destiny turned in a slightly different way, his enemies would have been comrades, and his comrades' enemies. This is the fate of the mercenary. He was spiritually worn down back then and feeling unbearably lonely. As the possessor of eternal life, Kaim had no fear of death, which was precisely why each of the soldiers' faces distorted in fear, and why each face of a man who died in agony was burned permanently into his brain. Ordinarily, he would spend nights on the road drinking, immersing himself in alcohol's stupor, or pretending to. He was trying to make himself forget the unforgivable. When, however, he saw Hannah smile as she begged him for stories about his long journey, he felt far warmer and deeper comfort than he could ever obtain from liquor. He told her many things. About a beautiful flower he discovered on the battlefield. About the bewitching beauty of the mist filling the forest the night before the final battle. About the marvelous taste of the spring water in a ravine where he and his men had fled after losing a battle. About a vast, bottomless sky he saw after a battle. He never told her anything sad. He kept his mouth shut about the human ugliness and stupidity he witnessed endlessly on the battlefield. He concealed his position as a mercenary farmer, kept silent regarding his reasons for traveling constantly, and spoke only of the things that were beautiful and sweet and lovely. He sees now that he told Hannah only beautiful stories of the road like this, not so much out of concern for her purity, but for his own sake. Staying in the inn where Hannah waited to see him turned out to be one of Kaim's small pleasures in life. Telling her about the memories he brought back from his journeys, he felt some degree of salvation, however slight. 5 years, 10 years. His friendship with the girl continued. Little by little, she neared adulthood, which meant that, as the doctors had predicted, each day brought her that much closer to death. And now, Kaim ends the last travel story he will share with her. He can never see her again, can never tell her stories again. Before dawn, when the darkness of night is at its deepest, long pauses enter into Hannah's breathing. The frail thread of her life is about to snap as Kaim and her parents watch over her. The tiny light that has lodged in Kaim's breast will be extinguished. His lonely travels will begin again tomorrow. His long, long travels without end. You'll be leaving on travels of your own soon, Hannah, Kaim tells her gently. You'll be leaving for a world that no one knows. A world that has never entered into any stories you have heard so far. Finally, you will be able to leave your bed and walk anywhere you want to go. You'll be free. He wants her to know that death is not sorrow, but a joy mixed with tears. It's your turn now. Be sure to tell everyone about the memories of your journey. Her parents will make that same journey one day, and someday Hannah will be able to meet all the guests she has known at the end, far beyond the sky. I, however, can never go there. I can never escape this world. I can never see you again. This is not goodbye. It's just the start of your journey. He speaks his final words to her. We'll meet again. His final lie to her. Hannah makes her departure. Her face is transfused with a tranquil smile, as if she just said, "See you soon." Her eyes will never open again. A single tear glides slowly down her cheek. End. Boy, if that doesn't get you in the feels. Ugh. Um, we can view the tutorial real quick, but it's basically he'll go to different places and he'll have memories, and then we can read them. So this was the first one that we got, and there's many other. And this helps to define Kaim as a character. We actually have another one that we can actually get here, which is what we're going to do. We're going to next go to a tavern, and we're going to go ahead and get the next one. Having these optional dreams really just goes to show in depth. It really helps him grow as a character. So now I just gotta figure out where these other places are. Let's see, we've already been here. This is what we need. We need to go to the residential district. Get some items around here. Can we kick the ball? Oh, well, we can attempt to kick the ball. Alright, there we go. Ball physics, not the best. Pretty much, if you see a pot, take a look inside, because you can always find good stuff. We don't want to go to his mansion just yet. Take a look at a map here. Now I know where we're going. One thing I would have liked this game to do is to change armor as you equip it. Accessories, they do show, but not armor.
Oh, sorry. Oh, look out. Sorry, miss.
Wait, let go! My throat! My throat! Damn!
Why are you following me?
You're Kaim Argonar! I mean, Lord Gungor asked me to do it! It's the truth! I'm supposed to tell you to go to his manor. He has something important to tell you.
You are?
Jansen, messenger for Lord Gungora. At your service. Jeez whiz.
Jansen's awesome. He is a really fun character. He's going to be our residential magic damage dealer, our black mage, if you will. Alright, another memory. Let's go ahead and dream. Alone in a crowd of rugged men, nursing his drink in the far corner of the old post town's only tavern, Kaim. This is called a hero's return. A single man strides in through the tavern door, massively built. He wears the garb of a warrior. His soiled uniform bespeaks a long journey. Fatigue marks on his face, but his eyes wear a penetrating gleam, the look of a fighting man on active duty. The tavern's din hushes instantly. Every drunken eye in the place fastens on the soldier with awe and gratitude. The long war with the neighboring country has ended at last, and the men who fought on the front lines are returning to their homes. So it is with this military man. The soldiers take a seat at the table next to Kaim's and downs a slug of liquor with the forcefulness of a hard drinker, a man who drinks to kill his pain. 2 cups, 3, 4. Another customer approaches him, bottle in hand, wearing an ingrated grin, a typical crafty town punk. "Let me offer you a drink," waddles the man, "as a token of gratitude for your heroic efforts on behalf of the fatherland." The soldier unsmilingly allows the man to fill his cup. "How was it at the front? I'm sure you performed many valiant deeds on the battlefield." The soldier empties his cup in silence. The punk refills the cup and adopts an ever more fawning smile. "Now that we're friends, how about telling me some war tales? You've got such big, strong arms. How many enemy soldiers did you Without a word, the soldier hurls the contents of his cup into a man's face. The punk flies into a rage and draws his knife. No sooner does it leave the sheath than Kaim's fist sends it flying through the air. Faced with the powerful, united front of Kaim and the soldier, the punk rans out, muttering curses. The 2 big men watch him go, then share a faint smile. Kaim doesn't have to speak with the soldier to know that he lives in deep sadness. For his part, the soldier, having cheated death any number of times, is aware of the shadow that lurks in Kaim's expression. The tavern's then returns. Kaim and the soldier pour each other drinks. "I've got a wife and daughter. Haven't seen since I shipped out," says the soldier. "It's been 3 long years." He lets himself smile shyly, now for the first time, as he partakes a photograph of his wife and daughter from his pockets and shows it to Kaim. The wife, a woman of dewy freshness, the daughter, still very young. "They're the reason I survived. The thought of going home to them alive was all that sustained me in battle." "Is your home far from here?" "No. My village is just over the next pass. I'm sure they've heard the news that the war is over and can hardly wait to have me home. He could get there tonight if he wanted to badly enough. It was that close. But," the soldier downs a mouth of liquor and groans, "I'm afraid." "Afraid of what?" "I want to see my wife and daughter, but I'm afraid to have them see me. I don't know how many men I've killed these past 3 years. I had no choice. I had to do it to stay alive. If I was going to get back to my family, I had no choice but to kill one enemy soldier after another, and each and every one of those men had families they had left at home. It was the code of the war, the soldier's destiny. Stay alive in battle. You had to go on killing men before they could kill you. I had no time to think about such things at the front. I was too busy trying to survive. I see it now, though. And now that the war is over, 3 years of sin are carved into my face. This is the face of a killer. I don't want to show this face to my wife and daughter. The soldier pulls out a leather pouch, from which he withdraws a small stone. He tells Kaim it is an unpolished gemstone, something he found shortly after he left for the battlefield. A gemstone, Kaim asks. Unconvinced, the stone on the table is a dull black without a hint of gleam. Should have. It sparkled when I first found it. I was sure my daughter would love it when I brought it home to her. Gradually, though, the stone lost its gleam and turned cloudy. Every time I killed an enemy soldier, something like the stain of his blood would rise to the surface of the stone. As you can see, it's almost solid black by now, after 3 years. The stone is stained by the sins I've committed. I call it my sin stone. You don't have to blame yourself so harshly, says Kaim. You had to do it to stay alive. I know, says the soldier. I know that, but still, just like me. The men I killed had villages to go home to, and families waiting for them there. The soldier then says to Kaim, You too, I suppose. You must have a family. Kaim gives his head a little shake. Not me, he says. No family. A home village at least? I don't have any place to go home to. Eternal travel, eh? Uh-huh. That's me. The soldier chuckles softly and gives Kaim a sour smile. It is hard to tell how fully he believes what Kaim has told him. He slips the sin stone into the leather pouch and says, You know what I think? If the stone turned darker every time I took a life, it ought to get some of its gleam back every time I save a life. Instead of answering, Kaim drains the last drops of liquor from his cup and rises from the table. The soldier remains in his chair, and Kaim, staring down at him, offers him these words of advice. If you have a place you can go home to, you should go to it. Just go, no matter how much guilt you have weighing you down. I'm sure your wife and daughter will understand. You're no criminal. You're a hero. You fought your heart out to stay alive. I'm glad I met you, says the soldier. I needed to hear that. He holds his right hand out to Kaim, who grasps it in return. I hope your travel goes well, says the soldier. And your travels will soon be over, says Kaim with a smile, staring at the door. Just then, the punk charges at Kaim from behind, wielding a pistol. Watch out! Bellows the soldier, and rushes after Kaim. As Kaim rolls around, the punk takes aim and shoots. You can't treat me like that, you son of a bitch! The soldier flies between the two men and takes a bullet to the guts. And so, as he so desperately wished to do, the soldier has saved someone's life. Ironically, it is for the life of Kaim, a man who can neither age nor die, that the soldier traded his one and only life. Sprawled on the floor, nearly unconscious, the soldier thrust the leather pouch into Kaim's hand. Look at my sunstone, will you? Maybe, he says, chuckling weakly. Some of its shine has come back. Blood spurts from his mouth, strangling the laugh. Kaim looks inside the bag and says, It's sparkling now. It's clean. It is? Gasps the soldier. Good. My daughter will be so glad. He smiles with satisfaction and holds his hand out for the pouch. Gently, Kaim lays the pouch on the palm of his hands and folds the man's finger over it. The soldier draws his last breath, and the pouch falls to the floor. The dead man's face wears a peaceful expression. The stone, however, the man's sin stone, which has rolled from the open pouch, is as black as ever. And yeah, these things hit you in the feel. Like, just the depth that they go through to give Kaim all more of this backstory and everything. It's just, whew. I mean, we're what, like, maybe 2 hours into the game? And we're already seeing just so much backstory about him. And there's so much more to come. There's so many dreams that are out there. And they are worth collecting every single one of them. Which, of course, that's exactly what we're going to do. Is collect every single one of them. Alright, so we know where we need to go. Gongora's mansion. So that's where we're going to go. Ooh. Could it be true? So the soldiers in front of his house aren't protecting him, but rather keeping him in there. Wow. Very interesting. Can we pet the dog? Oh, but the dog can bark. Alright, so we're gonna talk to the moms. And yes, this will trigger another dream, I believe. So let us dream. White flowers. Lovely white flowers mark the town. They bloom on every street corner, not in beds or fields set aside for their cultivation, but blending naturally and in profuse with every row of houses, as though the buildings and the blossoms have grown up together. The season is early spring, and snow still lingers on the nearby mountains, but the stretch of ocean that gently laps the town's southern shore is bathed in refulgent sunlight. This is an old and prosperous harbor town. Even now, each day, it appears see many cruise ship and freighters come and go. Its history, however, is sharply divided between the time before and the time after an event that happened one day long ago. People here prefer not to talk about it. The watershed engraved upon the town's chronology. The memories are too sorrowful to make stories out of them. Kaim knows this, and because he knows it, he has come here once again. Passing through, the tavern master asks him. At the sound of his voice, Kaim responds with a faint smile. You're here for the festival, I suppose? You should take your time and enjoy it. The man is in high spirits. He has joined his customers in glass after glass until now, and is quite red in the face, but no one shows any sign of blaming him for overindulging. Every seat in the tower is filled, and the air reverberates with laughter. Happy voices can be heard now and then as well from the road outside. The entire town is celebrating. Once each year, the festival has people making merry all night long until the sun comes up. I hope you've got a room for the night, sir. Too late to find one now. Every inn is full to overflowing. So it seems. Not that anyone would be foolish enough to spend a night like this quietly tucked away under the covers in his room. The tavern master winks at Kaim as if to say, "Not you, sir, I'm sure." Tonight we're going to have the biggest, wildest party you've ever seen, and everyone's invited, locals or not. Drink, food, gambling, women. Just let me know what you want, and I'll make sure you have it. Kaim sips his drink and says nothing. Because he is planning to stay awake all night, he has not taken a room. Though he has no plans to enjoy the festival either. Kaim will be offering up a prayer at the harbor before dawn, when the night is at the darkest and deepest. He will leave the town, sent off by the morning sun, as it pokes its face up between the mountains and the sea, just as he did at the time of his last visit. Back then, the tavern master, who, a few moments ago, was telling one of his regular customers his first grandchild is about to be born himself, just as an infant. "This one's on me. Drink up," says the tavern master, filling Kaim's shot glass. He peers at Kaim suspiciously and said, "You did come for the festival, didn't you?" "No, not really," says Kaim. "Don't tell me you didn't know about it. You mean you came here by pure chance?" "Afraid so." "Well, if you came here on business, forget it. You'll never get serious talk out of anybody on a special night like this." The tavern master goes on to explain what's so special about this night. "You must have heard something about it. Once, a long, long time ago, this town was almost completely destroyed. There are two kinds of events that divide history into before and after. One is the birth or death of some great personage, a hero or a savior. The other is something like a war or plague or natural disaster. What divided this town's history into before and after was a violent earthquake. It happened without warning and gave the soundly sleeping people of the town no chance to flee. A crack opened up in the earth with a roar, and roads and buildings just fell to pieces. Fires started, and they spread in the twinkling of an eye. Almost everyone was killed." You probably can't imagine it. All I know is what they taught me in school. And what does Resurrection Festival mean to a kid? It was just something that happened once upon a time. I live here, and that's all it means to me. So a traveler like you probably can't even begin to imagine what it's like. Is that what they call this holiday? Resurrection Festival? Uh-huh. The town was resurrected from a total ruin to this. That's what the celebration is all about. Kaim gives the man a grim smile and sips his liquor. "What's so funny?" the tavern master asks. "Last time I was here, they were calling it Earthquake Memorial Day. It wasn't a festival for this kind of wild celebration." "What are you talking about? It's been the Resurrection Festival ever since I was a kid." "That was before you were old enough to remember anything." "Huh?" "And before that, they called it Consolation of the Spirits. They burned a candle for each person who died and prayed to them to rest in peace. It was a sad festival, lots of crying." "You sound as if you saw it happening yourself." "I did." The tavern master laughs with a loud snort. "You look sober, but you must be plastered out of your mind. Now listen, it's festival night, so I'm going to let you off the hook for pulling my leg. But don't say stuff like that in front of the other townspeople. All of our ancestors, mine included, are the ones who barely escape with their lives." Kaim knows full well what he is doing. He never expected the man to believe him. He just wanted to find out for himself whether the townspeople were still handing down the memories of the tragedy, whether deep down behind their laughing faces, there's still lingering the sorrow that had been passed from their forefathers' time. Called away by one of the other customers, the tavern master leaves Kaim's side, but not without first delivering a warning. Be careful what you say, sir. That kind of nonsense can get you in trouble. Really. Think about it. The earthquake happened all of 200 years ago. Kaim does not answer him. Instead, he sips his liquor in silence. Among the ones who died in the tragedy 200 years ago were his wife and daughter. Of all the dozens of wives and hundreds of children that Kaim has had in his eternal life, the wife and child he had here were especially unforgivable. In those days, Kaim had a job at the harbor. There were just 3 of them. He, his wife, and their little girl. They lived simply and happily. The same kind of days that had persisted today would continue on into the endless tomorrows. Everyone in the town believed that, including Kaim's wife and daughter, of course. But Kaim knew differently. Precisely because his own life was long without end, and he had consequently tasted the pain of countless partings. Kaim knew all too well that the daily life of humans there was no forever. This life his family was leading would have to end sometime. It could not go on unchanged. This was by no means a cause for sorrow, however. Denied a grasp upon forever, human beings knew how to love and cherish the here and now. Kaim especially loved to show his daughter's flowers. The more fragile and short-lived, the better. Flowers that bloomed with the morning sun and scattered before the sun went down. They were everywhere in this harbor town. Lovely white flowers that bloomed early spring. His daughter loved the flowers. She was a gentle child who would never break off blossoms that had struggled so bravely to bloom. Instead, she simply watched them for hours at a time. That year, too. Look how big the bulbs are. They'll be blooming any time soon, she said happily, when she found the white flowers on the road near the house. Tomorrow, maybe, Kaim wondered out loud. Absolutely, his wife chimed in merrily. Get up early tomorrow morning and have a look. Poor little flowers, though, said the daughter. It's nice when they bloom, but when they wither away, all the better, says Kaim's wife. It's good luck if you get to see them blooming. That makes it more fun. It may be fun for us, answered the girl, but think about the poor flowers. They work so hard to open up, and they wither the same day. It's sad. Well, yes, I guess so. A momentary air of sadness flowed into the room, but Kaim quickly dispelled it with laughter. Happiness is not the same thing as longevity, he proclaimed. What does that mean, Papa? It may not bloom for long, but the flower's happy if it can open up the prettiest blossom and give off the sweetest perfume it knows how to make while it is blooming. The girl seemed to be having trouble grasping this, and simply nodded with a little sigh. She then broke into a smile and said, It must be true if you say so, Papa. Your smile is more beautiful than any flower in full bloom. He should have said that to her. Kaim later regretted that he had not. The words he had uttered so carelessly, he came to realize, turned out to be something of a prophecy. Well now, young lady, he said, if you're getting up early to see the flowers tomorrow morning, you'd better go to bed right now. All right, Papa, if I really have to. I'm going to bed now too, said Kaim's wife. Okay then. Good night, Papa. His wife said to Kaim, Good night, my dear. I really am going to bed now. Good night, Kaim replied, enjoying one last cup to ease the day's fatigue. These turned out to be the last words the family shared. A violent earthquake struck the town before dawn. Kaim's house collapsed in a heap of rubble. Kaim's two loved ones departed for that distant other world before they could awake from their deep sleep and without ever having a chance to say good morning to him. The morning sun rose on a town that had been destroyed in an instant. Amid the rubble, the flowers were blooming. The white flowers that Kaim's daughter had wanted so badly to see. Kaim thought to lay a flower in offering on his daughter's cold corpse, but abandoned the idea. He could not bring himself to pick a flower. No one, no living being on the face of the earth, he realized, had the right to snatch the life of a flower that possessed that life for only one short day. Kaim could never say this to his daughter. You go first to heaven and wait for me. I'll be there before long. Nor would he ever know the joy of reunion with his loved one. To live for 1,000 years meant bury the pain of 1,000 years of parting. Kaim continued his long journey. A dizzying number of years and months flew by, years and months, during which numberless wars and natural calamities scourged the earth. People were born and they died. They loved each other and were parted from the ones they loved. There were joys beyond measures and sorrows just as measureless. People fought and argued without end, but they also loved and forgave each other endlessly. Thus was history built up as the tears of the past evolved gradually into prayers for the future. Kaim continued his long journey. After a while, he really thought about his wife and daughter with whom he had spent those few short days in the harbor town, but he never forgot him. Kaim continued his journey, and in the course of his travels, he stopped by this harbor town again. As the night deepened, the din of the crowds only increased, but now, as a hint of light comes into the eastern sky, without a signal from anyone, the noises gives way to silence. Kaim had been standing in the town's center square. The revelers, too, have found their way here one at a time, until, almost before he knows it, the stone-paved plaza is filled with people. Kaim feels a tap at the soldier. Didn't expect to find you here, says the tavern master. When Kaim gives him a silent smile, the tavern master looks somewhat embarrassed and says, There's something I forgot to tell you before. Oh? Well, you know, the earthquakes happened a long time ago, before my father's and mother's time, even before my grandparents' generation. It might sound funny for me to say this, but I can't imagine this town in ruins. I know what you mean. I do think, though, that there are probably things in this world that you can remember, even if you haven't actually experienced them. Like the earthquake. I haven't forgotten it, and I'm not the only one. It may have happened 200 years ago, but nobody in this town has ever forgotten it. We can't imagine it, but we can't forget it either. Just as Kaim nods again to signal his understanding of the tavern's keeper's words, a somber melody echoes throughout the square. This is the hour when the earthquake destroyed the town. All the people assembled here close their eyes, clasp their hands together, and offer up a prayer. The tavern master and Kaim among them. To Kaim's closed eyes came the smiling faces of his dead wife and daughter. Why are they so beautiful and so sad? These faces that believe with all their hearts that tomorrow is sure to come? The music ends. The morning sun climbs above the horizon, and everywhere throughout the town blooms countless white flowers. In 200 years, the white flowers have changed. The scientists have hypothesized that the earthquake may have changed the nature of the soil itself, but no one knows the cause for sure. The lives of the flowers have lengthened. Where before they would bloom and wither in the space of a single day, now they hold their blooms for 3 and 4 days at a time. Moistened by the dew of the night, bathed in the light of the sun, the white flowers strive to live their life to the fullest, beautifying the town as if striving to live out the portion of life denied to those whose tomorrows were snatched away from them forever. End. Oh, more feels. More feels. That's just something we're definitely going to have to get used to with this. Alright, let's take a quick peek, make sure we got everything around here. Did we get this one? Yep, we did. Check the sides. Anything on the sides here? Doesn't look like nothing. Anything over here? Nope. But you know what's over here? That's right. A save point. We definitely want to be saving, because we have done a lot today.